Please understand that this video is opinion based and as such should not be taken seriously. Also, if you enjoy my content, remember to like, subscribe and comment down below. Well, this was bound to happen. Ever since I mentioned that I had some issues with Fate Zero's writing, some of you have been interested to hear me rant about Fate Zero. So, here you go. I'll start by saying that I actually do like Fate Zero and that Fate Zero still holds a very precious place in my heart. However, I wouldn't be exaggerating if I said that perhaps Fate Zero's gift was also its biggest curse. So, what do I mean by Fate Zero's gift? First, we need to understand which Fate Zero I'm talking about. There's the novels, there's the anime, and there's other formats such as manga and drama CD. But they don't really matter here. I read the first two novels of Fate Zero, which, if my memory is correct, is around where Casta dies. Afterwards, I stopped reading because the anime was announced, and the anime would finish before the translations of the novels would be completed. So, when talking about Fate Zero, I will be primarily talking about the anime, but I will mention the novel here and there. So, what do I actually mean by Fate Zero's gift? Well, while the Fate franchise right now has kind of exploded and is well known throughout many communities, that wasn't the case when Fate Zero was announced as an anime. At the time, Fate was only really known as the Dean anime, and didn't have that many people interested in it outside of its dedicated fanbase. So when Fate Zero came out, there was this explosion of fans in the fanbase. Suddenly there was this new wave of fans who were getting into Fate. But oh boy, was that a curse. You see, nowadays there's a lot of Fate shows everywhere, and there's practically a different Fate for everyone's tastes. But back then, if you finished Fate Zero and wanted to continue with Fate animes, your only option was the Dean version. As you can expect, that didn't go that well. I have lost count of how many times I was just having a regular discussion with someone else about anime in forums, not even Fate related, and some random user would just show up and comment something along the lines of, "The only good Fate is Zero," or "If only Fate Stay Night was written by Gen Urobuchi," simply because my avatar was Fate Stay Night related. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not a special snowflake that gets easily triggered by any small remark. In the vast majority of times, I just shrugged my shoulders and kept talking about whatever the topic was. But boy does it grind one's gears into any Fate topic and just seeing comment after comment of how Gen Urobuchi saved the Fate series and how the only Fate Zero is good or it's a masterpiece. It doesn't help that at the time, Gen Urobuchi was pretty much at the peak of his popularity within the anime community, thanks to Madoka Magica, Fate Zero, and Psycho Pass. So pretty much it was impossible to argue with any of them about Gen's writing. And this went on for years until Fate Stay Night and Fulltable Anime came out. Although even then, there were still some Zero-only watchers that would pop out their ugly heads here and there. Now, that's pretty much dead since the Fate franchise has kind of exploded in such a way that anyone who would even think of saying Gen Urobuchi saved the franchise will just get mocked by everyone. However, it would be accurate to say that all of this constant bashing towards other Fate works by Zero-only watchers has definitely left a sour taste in my mouth. On one hand, I can respect and enjoy Fate Zero for what it is. On another, boy do I really hate its fans. Regardless though, all of those years of people constantly bashing everything that's Fate related, that's not Fate Zero, has pretty much equipped me with tools and knowledge to dissect and tear apart Fate Zero. So, now that you know the context behind my issue with Fate Zero, you should take everything I say with a grain of salt. I love Fate Zero, and those years of hearing constant bashing have resulted in me being biased against Fate Zero just to spite at the Zero-only watchers. So, if you're still interested in hearing my issues with Fate Zero, please continue watching. However, if you don't want to hear me bash on your god Kiritsugu, then turn off this video right now, you've been warned. To say that Fate Zero's characters are garbage would be an understatement. So, what good characters that Fate Zero has? Waver and Skander are a pretty iconic duo, and Irisville is probably the third most memorable character. And that's it. 3 characters? How many characters does Fate Zero have? Over 14? Oh boy! So let's go one by one, and I'll start with the servants first. So, as Fate Apocrypha has shown, you might be a horrible writer, but servants are still one of the hardest characters to screw over. I know because I have over 10 years of experience in making servants for roleplay, and servants are all about research and interpretation. Half the work is already done for you. You just need now to create your own interpretation of what you researched. And in Fate Zero, it's even easier since 2 of the servants are already done. So let's start. Ryder is by far one of the most iconic servants in the Fate franchise. One of the best bros ever, very good character. Caster is also exceptionally good, although for different reasons. While unlikable, he's still entertaining to watch, and you know crazy stuff is about to happen when he's in screen. Berserker is also equally entertaining. Whenever he's in screen, you know action is just going to go wild and crazy stuff is going down. Lancer, he is fine, he's not amazing, but he's generally likable and he's a general good guy. Assassin though is a joke. It's amazing how much Assassin was just used for plot convenience and was simply discarded through the most illogical method without even giving them character development. And I know, each of them has a different personality, but clearly FGO can do it. Maybe Gen shouldn't have discarded the Assassin child side story, maybe that way Assassin's death would at least felt sad. And now we're left with Saber and Archer, 2 characters that were already developed. So, Gilgamesh is a joke. Many people say that they prefer the Fate Zero's version because he acts more like a king there, which, as a Gilgamesh fanboy for 15 years, I couldn't be more triggered. Fate Zero's Gilgamesh is boring and dull. His only real moment is in the King's Banquet, and that's it. His conversations with Kotomine might be interesting to some degree, but Kotomine is pretty much an empty shell at those points, which makes the whole interaction just boring. Are you seriously telling me that Gilgamesh, the king of heroes, actually listened to Tokyomi and is just sitting all day drinking wine? Is this a joke? King my ass, Iskander acts more like a king doing whatever he wants, while Gilgamesh acts like Tokyomi's personal dog and just sits still. Now Gilgamesh in Fate Strange Fake, now that's a king. Going to casinos, going around the city in cars, buying whole hotels, and carrying his master with a leash. Now that's a true king Gilgamesh would do. But the bad excuse of an interpretation that was Fate Zero's Gilgamesh? Ish. Now that was not good. As for Saber, she's definitely different from her Fate Stay Night version, and while most people prefer her in Fate Stay Night, I actually like her more in Fate Zero, just because she feels a bit more happy and overall carefree in Fate Zero. But I still can't forgive the whole stupid moment she had with Lancer. I don't know what to say, that was just dumb. So overall, the servants are pretty good, aside from Assassin, and that's it. Now we reach the worst part of Fate Zero. The Masters. So let's get Waver out already. Waver might be annoying, but he's well designed for the servant he got and works well in contrast with Ryder, so Waver is a pretty good. But that's it. Okay then, Ryonosuke. Literally non-existent. He has one scene that he's relevant, and that's when he's motivating Caster after Ryder trampled their base, and that's it. He's one scene and he's completely irrelevant. His personality is textbook psychopath, and that's it. All he has is, he's a psychopath. That's all there is to him. You could literally substitute him with a stick figure and it would have done no difference. Tokyomi, oh my god, talk about a character that does not translate well into anime. I'm pretty sure most people who didn't read the novel wouldn't be able to name Tokyomi without a visual assistance. That's just how non-existent he is. Heck, you know more about Tokyomi because of other characters rather than because of Tokyomi himself. He's Rin and Sakura's father, Karia hates him, Kotomine works and betrays him. What does Tokyomi even do? Yes, he works behind the scenes and pulls many strings, in particular the whole church involvement. But so what? The church involvement was practically irrelevant. The church made everyone go after Castor. Okay, but everyone would have already gone after Castor the moment the big monster shows up, meaning that the church didn't even need to be involved. There's also the fact that Tokyomi is, much like how Gilgamesh explains, extremely dull. His best moment is probably when he confronts Karya and beats his ass, but even then most people just didn't care. Plus again, it doesn't help that his character just doesn't translate well from a book to animation. Karya. Talk about a controversial character. Karya starts pretty well, most people like him and is in general likable, but later on he's just bad. It's not even because he's going insane, it's because his true character is getting revealed. Like, his whole fantasy of having Rin and Sakura calling him father is one of the most disturbing delusions I've seen a character have, especially because he truly thought he was doing the good thing. Like, character is a character that seems good on surface, but in reality is actually the stalker type that we so many times hear on the news, stalking the women that he target. That said, I can't say that Karya is a bad character, since Karya is one of the first characters that functions as a hook for people, but he definitely becomes forgetful and just unlikable by the end. Kanef, another master that's just... Kanef is a fine character and serves his purpose, but what is wrong with him? Why does he have to be such a jerk to Lancer? Like, Kanef himself admits that for Solo to have fallen for Lancer, she would have had to do it on purpose, and he still blames Lancer for it. Regardless though, personally I don't have many issues with Kanef. I think he was fine, and there was just moments where it's clear Gen didn't know how to properly introduce drama, and so he just rams it in with all force. And then, well, now we reached the two worst blank slates. Okay, only one is actually a blank slate, but still. Kotomine is such a forgetful and just boring character, I swear. Yes, Kotomine at the end is slightly decent, but he is nowhere near the Yorokubu Shunen that everyone loves. And yes, I know, Kotomine Fate Zero is before he became the troll that we all love, but that's no excuse to make him into a Sieg. Legit, the only reason people even cared about him in Fate Zero is because he's essentially a human Terminator who humps trees in half and slaps bullets away. We never even got to see Kotomine reach his peak Yorokubu Shunen stage. Imagine peak Kotomine smirking, taunting, verbally dissecting Kiritsugu. Instead we got a Kotomine that had a hard-on for Kiritsugu until he got a bullet to the heart. Array. And Kiritsugu, boy did he not translate well to anime. Anyone who's a zero anime only watcher and says that they love Kiritsugu and that he's the best character is the biggest hypocrite I've ever heard. First, no one cared about Kiritsugu until episode 18 and 19 came out. Let me get this through, because this is a personal experience. No one, and I mean no one, cared about the main character until 2 episodes dedicated on only flashbacks for the main character were released 3/4 into the show. I'm sorry, what? And this is the saddest part, because I remember specifically the shift. Because I remember before these 2 episodes came out, Kiritsugu wasn't even unliked. People just didn't care. He was just forgetful. He had no personality. And then 2 episodes come out and it's like, oh my god, he's the best. It's like, don't lie to me. You didn't care about him 2 episodes ago. And we're literally at the end of the show. You can't just tell me the character is now amazing because of 2 episodes of dedicated on when he was younger, when his adult version is completely dead and just irrelevant. Now, if you also read the novel, then okay, the novel does a better job at developing Kiritsugu. But in the anime, Kiritsugu is just a blank slate. Most people that only watch the anime don't even know that Kiritsugu is an outright coward who's always afraid of dying. There's like this one moment in the anime where Kiritsugu starts crying while Irizville is hugging him. That just feels awkward and out of nowhere. But in the novel, it makes perfect sense, because by that point, it's already been well established that Kiritsugu is a goddamn coward and that he would love to just be able to grab Iris and Aelia and run away. And what about the side characters? Well, there's a few. Obviously you have Irisville, which is one of the better parts of Fate Zero, and then that's it. Maya, is that her name? Maya is literally a walking fetish. Ah yes, Japanese really have a saying for the hitman rescues little girl, trains her to be sidekick, and then she falls in love with the hitman fetish. Oh, congratulations. It's even weirder how Irisville is aware of Maya's love for Kiritsugu, and she just accepts it. But maybe that's just because Irisville is awesome. I don't know. I'm not going to count Sakura and Rin because they don't really have an active role on the story, and they're mostly just there to motivate their respective caretakers. And no, I don't care about the filler episode of Rin going on an adventure. There's also Kiri's father, who's just there to serve as a lackey for Tokyomi. I mean, he serves no purpose other than just being there. There's Oken. Who's Oken? And then finally you have the last one, I think. Might have missed someone. But this is the last one I can remember, and that's Sola, who's by far the worst character in the entire show. Like, I legit don't know what to make of Sola. She's annoying, clinging, and can't take a goddamn hint. And before anyone tells me that it's because of the charming curse and that she didn't want to marry Kenneth, one, she fell on purpose for the curse as Kenneth had originally suspected, which makes zero sense. Because if she fell in love with Lancer, then there's no point in falling for the curse since you already love him. Which means she didn't actually love Lancer, and only dropped her resistance to fall for the curse to force herself to fall in love with someone she never loved to begin with. And for what? To spite the man she didn't want to marry? Kenneth wasn't even a bad husband. He would rather blame Lancer over his wife, even though she's the one who screwed things over, and even when she backstabbed him, he still swallowed his own pride and surrendered. Also, he could save her. I can get her not being satisfied with marrying someone she doesn't love. But clearly, Kenneth wasn't treating her bad, and if anything, his biggest mistake was that he spoiled her too much. So I don't understand the logic of screwing him over when he's literally doing anything she wants. If only she had half a brain, she could have had Kenneth on a leash, acting as a faithful dog. All in all, I'm just sad Sola got out with a quick death, while Kenneth had to suffer like that. She should have just been thrown to the worm pit, like garbage character. Legit screwed over Lancer and Kenneth for no reason other than being spiteful of her marriage because she's too stupid to take advantage of it. And that's just the characters. Overall, the characters in Fate Zero have a big problem in that they just didn't translate well into the screen, and many of them were just forgetful. There's a reason why, after Irisville, Waver, and Ryder are out of the screen, the show literally just loses all its life. Those three characters were carrying Fate Zero by themselves, and the episode where Ryder dies is pretty much where the show lost all of its appeal. Good saying that happened only at the ending, because if it happened any time before, the show would have actually died. As for the writing, there's not much to say about it, other than it's clear that Gen didn't know what to do with Saber and Gilgamesh. Like, Gilgamesh is basically on guard dog duty for the majority of the story, while Saber has the most brain-dead moment in all of the Fate series, and yes, servants must have only one noble phantom, even though Saber has two noble phantoms. It's very clear that Gen didn't know how to deal with Excalibur and just found the stupidest way to get Saber not to use Excalibur. What's funnier is that Diamondin has a new skill nowadays called Night Strategy, which he didn't have in Fate Zero. And they did it because so many people complained about Saber's stupidity that they just doubled down and were like, no, you see, Diamondin actually has a skill that made Saber commit a mistake, and we just forgot to mention it all these years ago. You can't fool me again. You had no idea how to stop Saber from using Excalibur, so you had to use this poor excuse of a writing to make it work. I also love how Kiritsugu immediately suspects that Assassin didn't die when he only saw one of them, but didn't suspect that all of them had not died when he saw multiple of them dying. Like, I'm 100% sure anyone with half a brain will still think that maybe there's still one assassin out there. Because there's no way Tokyomi and Kotomine are stupid enough to send all of them out, even though they did. But no, Kirisuke just accepts it and moves on. Doesn't even ask Iris, hey Iris, did Assassin's Soul enter you yet? Because you know, she can actually tell when a servant dies. Which he could have also asked the first time he suspected, now that I think about it. But I guess Kirisuke is just too smart for my peanut brain and doesn't need to use every tool available to him. Assassin is just a joke too. Why is Assassin visible? Why does Tokyomi need to have Assassin spy? Why does he not send his own crystal owl like Rin does in Fate Stay Night? So his whole plan was to trick other masters into thinking that Assassin is dead and he just has Assassin moving around visibly? Like what? Oh, I know why. Because if Assassin isn't visible, then there's nothing stopping Kiritsugu from killing Keinev. And if Kiritsugu kills Keinev, then not only is there nothing stopping Assassin from killing Kiritsugu, there's also nothing stopping Saber from using Excalibur, since Lancer is dead. Wow! Amazing writing. Wow! When your characters have to act stupid for the story to progress. Now, as I said before, as much as I may bash on Fate Zero is still a pretty good series, with good character interactions and good storytelling, but it's clear that it's no masterpiece and that it has a lot of issues, especially in the character department. It's amazing how despite being a holy grail war of grown-ups, in many ways it feels like a war of teenagers and children. No wonder Angry Maya mocked the Fourth War as being children playing with fire, because in many times it legit feels like all the grown-ups are just glorified big children. But anyway, that was my opinion on Fate Zero. What about yours? Remember to like, subscribe, and comment down below if you enjoy my content. This was George Gale, and until next time, bye.